This video is made for a very specific niche of people who not only love both sports and video games, but even more specifically football and Pokemon. We're making football teams out of Pokemon and we're having them battle it out at the end to see which region has the best team. We've already made the teams for the first 4 regions in Pokemon, which now brings us to Unova. Now, if you're like me and Unova is your least favorite region in Pokemon, you may be a bit skeptical as to how good of a team that they can put together. But remember, Unova has the largest native dex in Pokemon, so they should have plenty of good options, right? Let's mix it up this time and start with Unova's actually pretty respectable defense. Our first pick off the board is absolutely disgusting. At defensive end, we go with Darmanitan. Sure, he's only 4'3", but is also 200 pounds with 140 attack and 95 speed. And hey, low man wins in the trenches, and this guy's speed and bull rushes around the edge are going to make it an absolute problem to deal with in pass protection. And come to think of it, actually the combo of Unova's 2 defensive ends is kind of a nightmare to deal with. On the other side, we go with Scolipede, who is 8'2" and 440 pounds while sporting a 112 speed and 100 attack. So between the fact that it can roll up like Whirlipede for extra speed and its dex entries explaining how with its quick movements it chases down its foes relentlessly, my goodness, I feel bad for quarterbacks running from these two. But we do have to be able to stop the run as well. Therefore, our first pick for interior lineman was pretty easy. We go with Ferrothorn with its steel spiky body and 3 spiky feelers to make tackles. It is also fairly short at 3'3", but it is 242 pounds and probably very painful to run into. Next to it though, for our other defensive tackle, I'll admit I'm kind of in a pickle between Druddigon and Golurk. Golurk would absolutely be the better option because it is 9'2" and 722 pounds, but I kind of want to save that insanity for tight end, and Druddigon is still a very respectable 5'3" and 300 pounds. Between its rough hard skin and vicious and cunning nature, infiltrating narrow caves and using its sharp claws to catch prey, this thing will be a monster up the middle. So our D-line as a whole is definitely on the smaller side, but they make up for it with tenacity. But now let's look at our linebackers, who are typically a bit harder to pick since they have to have kind of a balance between speed, size, and strength. So at middle linebacker for our leader on defense, we go with Samurott. Standing at 4'11" and 208 pounds, it's not the biggest, but it has very solid attack, bulk, and speed to go along with it. Then for our first outside linebacker, we have another very vicious pick here. It's Crocodile. It is only 4'11" and 212 pounds, but again has really good attack and speed, not to mention its moxie and intimidating presence, all while never allowing its prey to escape. I am getting a bit concerned about this defense as a whole's size, but they absolutely do not lack in competitiveness or physicality. Now, as I said at the start, this dex is absolutely huge, but it's filled with kind of a lot of really small guys. So even picking our other outside linebacker is starting to get really tricky, especially considering we still have the entire offensive side of the ball still yet to fill. So I think our best bet here might actually be Sock, who, you guessed it, doesn't even hit the 5-foot mark and is only 112 pounds. But again, it does make up for that with 125 attack and 85 speed, as well as his mastery over karate absolutely helping him force some fumbles with those precise punches. Finally, our 2 safeties come through and deliver some much needed size and presence on this defense. Funnily enough, these 2 are actually like our biggest players on defense, but you'll see. At strong safety, we have our Enforcer, the Pokemon that these receivers do not want to see while trying to catch a ball over the middle. It is the pseudo that should have been Haxorus. Standing at a sizable 5'11" and 233 pounds, along with its massive 147 attack stat and very respectable 97 speed. They are relentless when defending their territory and take their rivalries very seriously. Oh, and you think that's going to be scary as a receiver? Now imagine the free safety right next to it is even scarier. It's Hydreigon. The legends of its brutality are famous throughout the league and media. The way it flies through the sky on 6 wings in response to movement by attacking has earned the nickname league-wide of Evil Incarnate. Its stats also speak for themselves and need no explanation. As long as these 2 can avoid fines and suspensions, this is going to be an absolutely terrorizing safety duo. But we do need some speedy and skilled corners, as our safeties and linebackers aren't slow, but they're definitely not top-tier speed either. And surprisingly, Unova more broadly is a pretty slow region, so that means that we're going with like Excelgor and Galvantula, right? Well, no. They're both 2'7" and like 50 pounds. Which sure, we've gone with tiny, fast corners in the past, but the rest of those team sizes kind of made up for that, which we cannot say in Unova so far. So instead we go with Mienshao and Archeops. Mienshao hits the perfect average of our team at 4'7", but even lighter at 78 pounds. But it does have 105 speed and 125 attack, allowing it to wield its fur whips to attack so rapidly they cannot be seen. So this thing will be very, very good at pass coverage and deflecting said passes. Then Archeops, okay, this is getting ridiculous. You guys probably think I'm messing with you, but no, I mean it. You can look it up. Archeops is also 4'7", 4-7. We're just gonna rename Unova's team to the Unova 4-7s, okay? Cool? Archeops is here mostly for stats, let's be honest. 140 attack and 110 speed is really, really good, but I am a bit concerned with its tendencies to take losses a bit too personally, and its performance therefore dipping. So sure, let's slot Excelgor as like our backup corner and or nickel corner type of guy. And there is Unova's small, but I still think pretty dangerous and capable defense. But can Unova's offense not only keep up with some of the other crazy offenses that we've seen so far, but even move the ball at all against some of these insane defenses like Sinnoh and especially Hoenn? I don't think so, but we'll see. We'll start with the offensive line because without them you aren't running or passing anywhere, and honestly this might actually be Unova's best unit. At the ever important left tackle we go with Beartic, who is 8'6" and 573 pounds, all while having 130 attack and respectable defenses and HP. Then right next to it at left guard we go with Conkeldurr, who, yeah, it's another one, it's 4'7" and 192 pounds, but obviously no one is questioning his guts, and his potent attack as well as defense is going to make it a beast in run blocking, and his huge wide stance and arms will be really good in pass protection as well. At center, however, we have Cofagrigus, who is 5'7" and 169 pounds. But its 4 ghostly hands will be invaluable when it comes to having to both snap the ball and block, not to mention its monstrous defensive stats that no one is running through this thing. And you are probably not surprised to hear that Emboar is here on the offensive line. The Mega Fire Pig Pokemon is a very respectable 5'3" and 333 pounds, so you pair that with its 110 HP, 123 attack, and even 65 speed to get out on some swing blocks and screens. It's not game breaking or anything, but it's a very good offensive lineman. For right tackle, here I originally had Jellicent because it is just huge. 7'3" and 297 is crazy, and its stats are also really good for this position, but I'm kind of doubting its ability to block. So instead I'm going to take who was going to be our tight end and move it here, Garbodor. It is definitely disgusting, but its stats are really well balanced, and you see its 75 speed is why I originally had it at tight end. It's sneaky athletic, and its decent size of 6'3" and 236 is really good, which I do think might make a better tight end, but it still works at right tackle here, which frees up Golurk at tight end. As I previously mentioned, it is massive. It is 9'3", 727 pounds, and can fly, which is obviously crazy, but the main reason I didn't originally put it at tight end is because of its 55 speed. But I think between its insane size and ability to fly, it will pretty easily still get open and make some catches with those giant hands. And speaking of catching, who are going to be Unova's wide receivers? First up we go with Zoroark, who is also a tad undersized at 5'3", but still bigger than most of the defense. Its main drawing points are of course its 105 speed, but more so its ability Illusion, which I'm sure it will use to trick the defense at least on the first play of each drive. But honestly, that's kind of where our really good options for receiver in Unova end. We could go with really any of the trio of monkeys, as they are all similar size and have identical stats, but none of them are great options. Sure, they could be our depth pieces or slot receivers, but we still need a dedicated wide receiver too. So I think we'll actually go with Braviary. Unlike most birds we've used as receivers and or corners, it's actually not that fast. Now, it's not slow either, but 80 speed is fairly low for a receiver. But I think the fact that it's an eagle with those giant talons means that it is a for sure pass catcher. Now, before we get to the very, very difficult, but equally as important quarterback pick, let's figure out who our running backs are going to be. Remember that each team gets both an offensive and defensive Mega Evolution. And with Unova's very limited options there, it made the offensive Mega a no-brainer. We go with Mega Excadrill for very, very obvious reasons. Dude is an actual whole drill. It has 165 attack, 103 speed, and again, it's a drill. Good luck ever tackling this thing, but especially in short yardage situations. And since, as you'll see, out of almost necessity, this team is going to be very, very run heavy, so we actually double down and go with a fullback. Bouffalant is going to lead the way and break open some holes wide open for Mega Excadrill to follow it in a run game. It is a bit slow with only 55 speed, but with 110 attack, great bulk, and its reckless headbutts and charges strong enough to derail a train, it'll be a great fullback. This might actually be the scariest backfield we've seen thus far, up there with the likes of Johto, and to double down even further, we're going to throw Zebstrika at running back too for some more top-end speed. And while we're doing backups, let's throw Electros at backup tight end, since it is 6'11" and has 2 hands and a mouth to catch with. Okay, it's time to figure out who Unova's quarterback is going to be. I've put it off for long enough, and let me explain why. Quarterbacks, of course, most importantly, need to be able to throw the ball with at least some power and accuracy, and that alone causes some pretty big issues in the Unova Pokedex. But it also has to be big enough to hopefully be able to throw over its offensive line and not be a total stick in the mud and be able to avoid somewhat of a pass rush. Which, of the Pokemon we haven't used yet, that leaves us with, like, Seismitoad and Bisharp and maybe the aforementioned elemental monkeys? That's kinda it. Seismitoad is at least 4'11" with 74 speed, and its arms look at least somewhat capable of throwing the ball down the field. It's not a great option, but it's not bad. Then the monkeys are small, but of course very fast, so maybe we could run some sort of like college-style triple option wildcat type of offense, maybe? But I think our best option might actually be Bisharp. It is 5'3", 154 pounds, and has 70 speed, which is similar to Seismitoad, but it arguably looks a bit worse off in terms of actual ability to throw the ball. What brought me to pick Bisharp was its innate leadership, as well as its defiant nature and ability to maintain its inner focus in the face of some of these terrifying pass rushes that it will see. And with that, you're probably wondering where Superior is, as we've used every other starter Pokemon in every video so far. And sure, it is 10 foot 10 inches long, but it's only 139 pounds, and with its whole upturned snout and regal air, it just kind of read more as like a head coach option for me, which I think that works. We'll also throw Leavanny at kicker kind of out of necessity, and that leaves us with one last Mega to pick. Remember, each team now gets both an offensive and defensive Mega, but Unova's only option on defense for a Mega, as the way that stands right now, is Scolipede. And it actually loses like half of its speed upon Mega Evolution, so I think Unova's best bet might actually to be going without a Mega Evolution on defense. And there you have it. I present to you the Unova Uproar. I can't wait for the bracket style tournament at the end of this, where we're actually going to have these teams play against each other and like dive into the actual matchups of like this corner versus that running back, this O-line versus that D-line. I think it's going to be a blast. So make sure you're subscribed so you do not miss that one towards the end of this series. And of course, like the video, comment while you're there, and click on one of these to either see another video or maybe the playlist. I'll see you in Kalos.